there are two trends that are really driving the need for Infinite Graph. One is the need for socially aware software. Applications that are following the footsteps of social media such as Facebook, LinkedIn, are seeing that the value of related software is really driving the needs for building highly connected data. Infinite Graph can support that requirement. A second requirement that is really emerging is cloud computing. Cloud computing is driving the need to have highly scalable distributed systems that collects vast amounts of data. As people collect that data, there's still the need to be able to find the relationships in that data. Those two trends are really going to be driving factors in the success of Infinite Graph. Well, one of the areas obviously is the internet. When we look at Google and how they're using data, they do some of their processing with graph data. So in that area where they're doing page ranking, they're getting lots of data that they're trying to find information that is related. They use the graph data to find those relationships to deliver back information. There are also applications that are being leveraged on the internet, such as recommendation engines, that really require graph data to be able to discover the relationships between what you bought and what may be recommended to you for the future purchases. Other applications may be ad serving, where they're really collecting large amounts of data and using graph data to be able to find the relationships in that data to serve their customers better. Another area that we're seeing the emergence for graph data is in corporations and the government. In both of these areas, they're collecting large amounts of unstructured data, but they need to find the relationships in that data. In order to find those relationships in a very high performance wise, to be able to use a product like Infinite Graph that will support the need for graph data. One last area that we see a lot of potential for Infinite Graph will be in some vertical markets, one such as bioengineering, where companies are going to be using products like Infinite Graph to be able to really enable drug discovery applications that drive their new business growth. We look at it from a couple of different channels. One would be where we would be working with direct customers such as corporations and the government. In these areas, customers who are building internal applications that really have a lot of highly connected data would be able to take advantage of Infinite Graph as a key aspect for their architecture. Another channel that we look at are the OEMs. The people who are building the applications that are going to provide the type of connectivity that really require a product like Infinite Graph to drive their products into the marketplace. Another area that we're going to be looking at is using integrators and consultants who are really the experts in providing the customers the expertise that they need to be able to develop and implement graph-based applications. We think that one of the big benefits to Infinite Graph is really going to be time to market. In order to build an application where you've got highly connected data, you're dealing with a very complex data structure. If you model your data as graph data and then integrate that into a graph database, it's not only going to provide you the ability to deliver that application or software in a much faster time frame, but it's also going to enable you to be able to provide a much more flexible system. As your software grows and it changes and the complexity of that increases, to be able to leverage a graph database on the back end really allows you to focus on the features and functionality of your software and your application as it changes. As it grows, there's also going to be the need for long-term performance and increased scalability. By having a product like Infinite Graph, where we provide the back end and make sure that you have that scalability and performance, customers that build and develop applications will really be able to focus on their applications, and we'll provide the back end. Companies like Facebook really grew far faster than I believe any of them ever thought they would. I don't believe anybody at Facebook or outside of Facebook could have imagined that they would have 400 million users in the time frame that they did. And they're all about relationships. Everything that Facebook does, what it drives, and the user community that they have is really based on relationships. If they had had a product like Infinite Graph when they had started, they could only imagine the things that they would be able to do to be able to build more rich user capabilities and not be limited at all by the back-end system that was discovering those relationships.